All right, guys. So we are going to hide our stuff on our screen. Let me close some stuff. So what we're looking at, let me refresh the page. We want to remove this navigation because this is for screen reader only. And if I scroll down the footer in my footer, I want to remove that. So the easiest way to do it is we need to use some CSS to do it. Okay, now if I'm going into my code, and let me just push this to the side. Okay, if I go into my code and I locate the items that I want to move, so this navigation right here, this is my header. This is ultimately what I want to move, and this footer right here, this is ultimately what I want to move. If you guys have stuff that you need to be accessible for screen readers, but not visually seen, okay, so this may be additional instructions for how to fill out a form or other things that may be relevant for screen readers since they can't understand the pictures that you have, then you're going to want to visually hide those elements, okay, but they still need to be in there. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to take this. So if I'm looking, this navigation is actually in my flow. Everything is sized and placed after it. So the first thing I need to do is I need to build a class. So somewhere, let's say this is my screen reader only rule. End of screen reader only rule. Okay. So normally I use SR only like this, SR only, but since I'm using Font Awesome, they already have that class, so I'm going to use hidden. So we build the class, and now what we need is we need a couple things. So the first thing I need to do is I need to choose the position. Position is already relative to everything that's displayed in the order that it appears in your HTML files. So what I'm going to change it to is absolute. Okay. And with absolute, when you put an absolute in, you need to say the position that it's in. So since this is in the top, if you watch, I'll do top auto so I can get where the vertical position is in relation to the page, and then I'll use left. So just so that we could see this happening, let's say left, I want it to be 10 pixels. Okay, I'm going to save this. I'll refresh my page, and I'm not going to see any change. The reason is because I have to apply this class. So I have to go to whatever I want to apply it to. So let's just do it for the navigation here first. Class, I'm going to call it hidden. And now if I refresh my page, okay, see how the navigation jumped down and the word navigation jumped down, and then my actual navigation jumped up? That's because now it's taken out of the flow. So I could put this to, let's say 500 pixels, and we can see it's going to move around on my page. It's not part of the flow. If you're trying to reorder things, this is one of the ways that you could do it. You can have stuff actually out of order of what you have here, designed with CSS. Okay, so if I do it this way, which this is not a good idea for responsiveness to do this on all of your pages, but now I have an absolute, I have a position. Let's go ahead and apply that to footer so we can see what it does. I have to apply it at the starting tag, hidden, save, refresh. Okay, now it moved that footer. Now that is not actually what I want. I don't want to do the entire footer. I actually just want to do this H2 element. So save it, refresh. Okay, so this is taken out of the position. That's why made with recycled pixels. jumped up and is no longer considering the spacing for this footer. But we want to do more than just position. I'm going to leave it left where it is so that you can see what we're doing, but we are going to set the width of the box. So let me just go ahead and before I set the width, I'm going to set the background color. Background, let's say it's red, just so you can see it. All right, so those are my absolute position elements. Okay, so since I have that background, let's go ahead and set the width, and we're going to set the width to, let's say, 10 pixels, just so you can see. So I'm adjusting the size. Okay, now the element that this text is in is only 10 pixels wide, but even though the words don't fit in it anymore, they are still overflowing that space. So even if I am adjusting the height and I set it to 10 pixels, I'm still dealing with overflow issues. Okay, the width and the height are only 10 pixels, but I still have that text. So right now, that little red square is actually that element, that H2 element, or whatever I applied that hidden class to. The words are really supposed to be in there. So the other thing that we'd have to put in is an overflow, and we need to say, so I could choose different stuff. I could choose scroll or visible, but in this case, I actually want to hide the text. I don't want it to overflow, but I want that space to still be there. If you completely hide any screen readable text, it will not be read by a screen reader. So I still have to have some space. I can't put width 0 and height 0 because then it won't be read. So I have to have this overflow put as hidden, so I won't see the text, but that is still there. It still is taking up some space. And in this case, see, we see part of it right there. If I scroll in, that's part of the text right there, but it's not allowed to overflow the space that it's given. Okay, so this is most of what we need. Now what we need to do is we need to actually take it out of our page so that we're not able to see it. So that's where this left comes in. We still want the vertical position to be in the right place so that the screen reader is bouncing to it. Okay, but we are going to put 10,000 pixels, negative 10,000 pixels. That is moving that to the left 10,000 pixels. So it's not going to be anywhere in our page. It's going to completely disappear because it's going to start moving to the left. Okay. We'll go ahead and refresh, and now it's completely gone. And then we can go ahead and we can change our width to 1 pixel and save that, refresh. We're not going to see any change. Okay. The background, we don't need that background anymore. That was just so you guys could see it. Refresh. We still don't see it. So those elements, they're still there in the screen reader. They're still in my code. If I was using a screen reader, I could still read those the H2 headings for those areas. I could still read those, but I'm not able to click on them. Now, there are a couple caveats when we use this code. So this is really all the code that you would need to make it so that you are not able to read something that is only for a screen reader. Okay, there are a couple caveats. Having an element that can be focusable, so that would be a link or say a form. That's something that actually would be useful for someone who's a sighted user. You do not want to hide it by sending it off the page, because if you were tabbing through, you could still end up selecting that item. Okay, and screen readers, you can end up having some weird functionality issues. So instead of us doing that, all we are going to do is we are just going to move it off, and we are not using any links or forms or anything that can be focusable for what we are hiding. We are just doing text, just some H2 elements, so it's perfectly fine. Okay? All right, so again, you have to apply the class to what you want to hide. You're going to have to change the position to absolute so it's taken out of the flow. Then we have to give it a top and a left position. So in this case, we're going to keep top to auto. Left is going to be negative 10,000 pixels. We change the size. It's not going to be 0. It'll be 1 pixel for the width and the height. And then we put our overflow to hidden. So it's still there. We just can't see it on our page because it is 10,000 pixels to the left. Okay. If I change this back to 1 pixel, I will see it again, and it will be a very small red dot. So again, if we resize, we would see it on our page again. Okay, so what we need is for us to have 1 pixel to the right or left, for the width and the height. We have it 10,000 pixels over, so negative 10,000 pixels, overflow hidden. Position is absolute, and we are golden. Okay, so that is all that you have to do to hide elements visually that you still need to have for screen readers for accessibility. All right, have fun. Good luck.